on Monday, December 10th, 2018 at 7 o'clock. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to welcome each and every one of you. Your attendance here shows your interest in public education and is greatly appreciated. At this time, we'll do item number 199.18, the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have two children here from Hoover Elementary School, Elisa Parker and Ethan Snyder. Can you please come forward and lead us in the pledge? Hey, come up here. Okay, whenever you're ready.
I pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, stay right here. And Ms. Hines is going to read your bios. Well, we can't help that.
My name is Alicia Parker, and I am 7 years old. I am in the second grade at Hoover Elementary in Miss Jenks' class. My favorite subject in school is everything. I live with my mom, Barb, and my dad, Brad. My mom is a parapro at Adams Upper Elementary School. In my spare time, I like to play with my puppy, George. I also like to play board games, color, paint, and draw. My favorite thing about Hoover is all the teachers and Miss, is it Bess? Bessick. Next, we have Ethan Snyder. My name is Ethan Snyder, and I'm in the fourth grade in Miss Moore's class. I am 9 years old, and I live with my mom, Michelle, and my dad, Joe. I have a big brother named, Bryson, and a little brother named Nathan. My favorite subject in school is gym because I like to run around and play basketball. Outside of school, I like to play soccer, football, play games with my brother, and Xbox with my dad.
That's good.
Yay! And I like Hoover because everyone is nice.
So Mr. Buckaloo is going to come down there, and he has something to present you for leading us in the pledge this evening.
Well, you guys did a great job today. I appreciate it. We can't get the meeting started without you folks coming by and leading us in the pledge. I have certificates here, and I'll just read one of them. This one is to Ethan. It says, presented to Ethan Snyder, Hoover Elementary School, for participation in the flag ceremony during the regular meeting of the Wayne Westland Board of Education. Okay, Ethan, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I get a handshake? You're a football player, right? And a basketball player and a soccer player? Fantastic. And you're going to be an artist, aren't you? Alicia, this is for you. Thank you very much. Now, Alicia, we'll start with you. Is there someone here you'd like to introduce us to? Mom and Dad? And where are they and who are they?
That's my mommy, Bob, and that's this, my daddy, Brad. That's my sister, Holly, and next to Holly is her boyfriend.
You got a little family, huh? How about you, Ethan?
There's my mom and dad, there's my nana, there's my cousin, there's my grandma, there's my brother, and there's my other cousin, there's my grandpa, and there's my
Brought the
You got a
whole
whole
family.
don't you? And do either of you have a teacher here today? You do? And who is that? Where is she? And your principal? Mr. Bessick. I have to tell you a story. When I was a little younger and I was a teacher, I had to work for a principal too. And it was Mr. Bessick. And he really was a nice man. He was really a good principal to work for. And I think you're very fortunate to be at Hoover where Mr. Bessick is. So I want to thank you both for coming by. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Elisa.
So, Amanda, are you doing the pictures today for them? Okay. So if you can come and take your, what's her name again? Alicia, and do a picture real quick, and then just so the families know, once they're done with their picture, you're more than welcome to stay. But if you need to go, our feelings won't be hurt. You can ease out, because we understand. So while we're waiting for everyone to settle down, we'll go to item number 200.18, roll call. Mrs. Hines. You go ahead. I'm gonna get that out the way.
Mr. Cox,
Present.
Mr. Buckaloo,
Present.
Dr. Weaver's excused,
Excused,
Ms. Hines here, Ms. Madison,
Present.
Ms. Madell,
I'm here.
and Ms. Walker.
Present.
Record shows 6-0.
Okay, we have a quorum. Moving on to item number 201.18, recognitions and presentations. Dr. Holt.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to invite Mrs. Dybus and Ms. Mitter up for the community financial donation. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Dybus and Mrs. Miller.
Good evening, Dr. Holt and Madam President, members of the Board of Education. Thank you for having us tonight. We wanted to recognize one of our community partners. As you know, the Family Community Engagement Department was established by Dr. Holt in March, and one of the partnerships that we have built is with the Community Financial Credit Union. They built a branch at the old Quo Vadis site down on Wayne Road in Westland. And coming to Westland, they have been an amazing partner to the district with starting up student-led credit unions at Wildwood. They're starting in after the new year, and they have already started one over at Edison. And then there's works to expand on that as their team expands. So with that, I'd like to welcome up Mary Kerwin. She's the Supervisor of Education Partnerships with the credit union, and also Sean Campion. He's the branch manager of the Westland location.
Good evening.
Good
You
evening.
folks really know how to clear a room, because it's something I said. As Maria said, my name is Mary Kerwin, and on behalf of Community Financial, would like to present this check for $2,500 to the Family and Community Engagement Department, and would also like to announce, and pleased to announce, our partnership with the Wayne Westland Community Schools, including our student-run credit unions at Edison and soon to be at Wildwood. And we appreciate your partnership and look forward to a long and lasting relationship with you folks. So, yay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Gotta find a place to cash this now.
Well,
Here to 18.
Gonna endorse it.
did any of the trustees have a remark or anything?
I do.
Okay.
I'd like to say that you guys are doing a wonderful job, and I'm so glad you're bringing that down to the level so kids can know how to save and be financially fit. So thank you so much for your partnership.
You are more than welcome. We love doing it, and we love being involved with you folks. So, as I said, we look forward to a long and lasting relationship with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next item.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to invite Mrs. Dickelman and Mrs. Hines, are you working with her? Or you're staying up here? Okay. Mrs. Dickelman up to the podium. She is going to be presenting on the Footsteps to Freedom tour that she and Secretary Hines attended this summer.
Good evening, everybody. Let's see, it's the first time using a clicker, so excuse me. Again, my name is Karen Dickelman. I'm an instructional coach at Marshall, and I'm also the K-6 social studies content leader. This summer, I was given an amazing learning opportunity to attend Footsteps to Freedom tour that traveled through Ohio, Kentucky, Michigan, Canada, and New York. My co-traveler was school board member Melanie Hines. This was a very fast-paced professional development that was intense, memorable, and life-changing, to say the very least. Words can simply not describe the experience. I will never forget this opportunity, and I have gained so many more colleagues and friends thanks to this professional development. I struggled keeping this presentation down to a minimum because of the amount of experience I want to share seems endless. Words or this presentation itself do not do it justice. This brief video includes two of the most intense and deep simulations or learning experiences that occurred on the tour.
That each person was afforded
I'll pause. Go ahead.
was 36 inches high and 18 inches wide. 36 inches high, 18 inches wide. You were connected in groups of 4 by chains on your ankles and chains on your wrists, and you were connected to that person, for all intents and purposes, for the rest of that journey.
So, what did but how was I able to do that? Because I had a professor that would put me aside, and I would never do this Japanese. He pulls me aside, and he literally grabs me by my collar and says, "Young man."
You're going to see that everything that we talked about, almost every place we go, they're going to talk about this thing called the Fugitive Slave Law and also this thing called the Compromise of 1850. So we'll throw that out there right now because people will speak it like you know what they're talking about, and you're like, and they're just going to be talking about it. It's like the language of the Underground Railroad, right? You know?
Female with a child, and you've got on a hoop skirt that's drenched and you're cold, it's winter time, you've got no shoes, you have the slave catchers on your heels with the bloodhounds, with the dogs. But that's the next stop on the Underground Railroad. That's the next station house you have to get to up on Rankin Hill. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get up that hill, but take your time if you need to. If you want to go faster, go faster. But one of the things that we've seen people do is actually record their journey on the way up and a narrative. You know, talk about what's happening, how they're feeling as they go up. So it's going to be a real special memory for you. It's going to be an accomplishment. But when you get to the top, you're not to freedom until you get all the way to the Rankin door, that white door. You got to get all the way to the door, and you got to put your hand on that door, lift your arms up, and you're free for this exercise. But still, remember, we got to get to Canada for real freedom. So you guys ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
The tour took place in 2 countries, 4 states, over an 8-day period. Those 8 days included the travel to get to the starting point and back home. We were learning from 7:30 a.m. to about 9:30 each night. While we traveled, Daniel would speak to us about different topics. So when I say it was worth every penny, I certainly mean it. The first simulation that Daniel was describing was the slave ships while we were in Detroit. You could hear the moaning and the crying in the background as the exhibit makes it as lifelike as possible. As I listened to him talking, at the same time, I just wanted to escape the dark dungeon of the ship room exhibit. The second simulation was taking part in a small glimpse of the runaway to freedom from the Ohio River to the safe house. The leaders of this professional development were Hardy Brown II, Dr. Daniel Walker, a historian, and Kenneth Morris, Jr., who also is a direct descendant of Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington. Dr. Daniel Walker, one of the speakers and lead historian in our travels, asked us this question: how do we continue their legacy? How can we use all the information? His answer was to immerse yourself in it. Include this information in your teaching. Let the students see themselves. We need texts that empower women and African Americans. We need to fight the curriculum. It needs to go deep, everything. There's a ton of curriculum, but none of it goes deep. We seem to skim the surface on everything. Immersing is just what we did. We were immersed in the history and learned by experiencing simulations with real artifacts. Here are just a few examples. A contraption that was bolted around the neck to hold slaves together in line as they were transported, with bells on the end to alert if they decided to run. A slave auction on the grounds of an actual slave auction site. They are actually chained together in this simulation. A hitching post, but it's not for horses. It was for slaves at a government building in Kentucky. The transportation of slaves, where they're laying down, 36 inches by 18 inches. Slaves would be chained together for the duration of their journey at sea in this position without ever having the opportunity of moving. And then I included a piece of artwork showing a slave mother protecting her child. This was the home of John Parker and also a safe house. They had to cross the Ohio River and then get to this house. From there was a house barely visible way up beyond the trees where the arrow is pointing. This was one common path to freedom. We were, as a group, started at the John Parker home pictured in the forefront and traveled on foot up the very steep hill to the John Rankin home at the top of the hill where the arrow is pointing. Hardy pulled me aside immediately after hitting the door and shouting freedom at the house after hiking up the steep road for my reaction. I hope this is the right one. I need the.
Get all teary-eyed right now because it does hit home. You know, if it was my kids trying to get them here. So, I'm sorry. But it's real. It's until you're there, and I'm not even there because I wasn't there back then, but it's real. So, I feel for those people, and I'm glad that they made their way.
I don't know if it's possible to show the other clip. I know it would be out of order now, but it was. If not, it's not a big deal.
Get all teary-eyed right now because it does hit home. Well, I'm feeling a lot of emotions. It was extremely difficult to get up that hill. And the whole time I was thinking about what if I had people on my back chasing me, trying to get me all the way back there? What if I had small children that I was carrying with me, trying to keep them safe? And just how extremely difficult it was just for me, knowing I was safe to get up this hill and get to this point. What was it like for people back then that were struggling and really trying to gain their freedom from everything?
You have to let documents tell the story to develop a plausible argument. Why did it happen cannot come from theories, well I thinks, or hearsay. If it doesn't have documents to support or prove it, in essence, it never happened. That's what Dr. Daniel Walker on a discussion about primary and secondary sources stated. And from what we saw with all the primary sources, it obviously does tell the story. Main takeaways. The main takeaways I included not just history, but history of our whole world. And personal growth was just as important. Human history, cultural history, social emotional learning, curriculum, personal growth, and networking with other educators I would not have otherwise met. Ways that Footsteps to Freedom Tour leaders can continue to support Wayne Westland. Dr. Daniel Walker has presentation topics, including Turning Equity into Action, which is geared towards K-12 educators and administrators. All Things Are Possible, which is geared towards middle and high school and possibly upper elementary students, usually in a large assembly. And that was my favorite because he talked to us about part of that, and it just talks about where he started off to how he got to where he is today. Where We Are is a multicultural coalition building for parents, groups, educators, and administrators, and major community stakeholders. Hardy Brown II has a traveling hands-on artifacts exhibit, and it can be geared to elementary, middle, and high school. And definitely just sending more staff on this amazing, life-changing professional development opportunity. As much as it was about the history and the extreme learning experience, it was just as much about the new colleagues and friendships that we created. My career networking for the district has grown a great deal. I am in contact with so many of the people that were on tour with me. I've been sent restorative practices that they have had in place for years out in California, PBIS practices, social emotional learning material, and we continue to bounce ideas off of each other, and this trip was taken back in July. I love it when we chat in our group, and they're amazed by the Michigan weather when we go through all 4 seasons in 48 hours, because they're all from California. I went to this PD thinking it would be an amazing learning experience about history. I had no clue about how much more valuable this was and how it touched me on an educational growth and personal growth level as well. I can't thank you enough for the opportunity and would love to send more staff to this next year. That's it.
Thank you so much. That is, I can't imagine the emotion that you went through as you went through it, because the emotion that I was feeling just watching the short clip. So that's amazing, and I'm glad you had that opportunity.
It was very intense, and it just, I had to like keep myself together up here now, so.
Yeah, I went to that at the Charles H. Wright Museum. I went through that tour, and it is, you have to really see it to experience and understand. I think everyone should take that tour.
Yes, I am all for it. Whatever needs to be done, I am all for it, because it was, I don't know, like I said, words can't do it justice until you're there.
Yeah.
So.
Any,
And just real quick, speaking on the opportunity, it was awesome to be able to immerse yourself in this, because when you think about how the slaves just going from Ohio all the way up, and then you think you're free when you get to Canada, but you're not. It's just like, oh my gosh, the way the laws change, and it's like how things are going today, like the pipeline to prison. It's like things, even though things are changing, it remains the same. So that's why I like this program, because I got to learn a lot about history, and we definitely need to upgrade our history to have the kids be more inclusive and understand how other people are feeling, be more like the social emotional. So I definitely learned a lot from this trip, and I definitely want to help our history department, whatever we need to do to kind of get this type of information out to the kids.
anyone else?
Yeah.
Ms. Madell?
Most of us got a chance to have dinner with people that were on the tour, and I know what you meant about people from California. They were so surprised it was so light, so dark in the summer. And I said, you know, if the weather holds up, sometimes it's still light enough at 10 o'clock at night, and they were impressed with that. They thought, you know, you're north, it must be dark all the time. I'm going, not quite, we're not that far north.
I did forget to, sorry.
Have you had a chance to read Corky from Buxton? It's a book written by Christopher Paul Curtis, who is a young writer, a young person's writer, and he has written about the town of Buxton, which, by the way, my grandfather was born there. And it was probably 20 years after the end of the Civil War when he was born. But it's a very interesting area and filled with a lot of history. But he has written a book about the slaves that settled in that area, and the slave hunters that come looking all the way into Canada for runaway slaves. So it's an interesting book that's written at kid level, so that would also help them too, to immerse themselves in some of the concepts that they need to learn from this issue.
And
What did you think about Xenia, Ohio?
I
I went to school there.
okay, yes.
I went to
I
Central
had to,
State,
like,
which is right across the
where-
street from Wilberforce.
like go back on my trip.
That was day one when you went to
Yes.
Wilberforce University.
That was, yep, and we had Dr. Ashley Jordan, and she took us through the cemetery and gave different, we learned about, there was, and my notes are escaping me, but there was a lady that would teach African American women and girls how to speak and how to read and be literate. And then there was a African American soldier. I can't remember was it Charles May? Charles Mason. I can't remember, but there was another person there. Like it was a lot of history and taking in, and then just when I was going through my notes again, it was like, oh yeah, that's right. There's just so much.
So that was my first time as a freshman in college. I went there. The two HBCU colleges are there right across the street from each other.
Right across
And we
the
used to take a
street.
bus called Wilbur to town. That was my first time after coming from here and seeing a rally of white supremacists or KKK when I went down there. And that was an eye-opener in itself when I went down there. But I love the town and the history that Xenia brings. But people don't pay attention to it because it's that little ramp that goes off the side when you're going down
Really quick,
75
right.
on your way to Dayton.
Well, when I was talking to my principal about this, I actually didn't know that he went to Wilberforce for a little while himself. So I was like, oh, and then we started talking about that too. So-
Yeah, it's a lot of history there, but thank you for coming in
no
and sharing.
problem.
Anyone else before we move on?
I just got one more thing too. We learned about a lot of different colleges, like private universities that have like different endowments where a lot of the kids can go to school for free. So we got some really good information about that we want to kind of bring to the district as well.
Right, and I can bring that forward. And I did forget that this was our agenda for the 8 days of absolutely everything that we did. It didn't include the lectures that were on during travels, but that gives the whole agenda, so.
That
Thank
was
you
a
for your
lot.
time.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 202.18, citizen comments. Agenda items only. Anyone? Okay. Moving on to item number 203.18. No. Yeah. Consent agenda. At this time, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Ms. Hines, supported by Mr. Cox. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Madell?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Buckaloo?
Yes.
Ms. Hines, yes. Ms. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
The record shows 6-0.
Thank you, motion carries. Moving on to item number 204.18, review and approval business services and finance items. Ms. Witt. This is for the resolution to appoint the director and alternate.
Right, I'm preparing things.
Okay, so,
You want me to read it out?
yes, please.
All right. So, Madam President, we are asking that a resolution to appoint the director and alternate director for Maisel. We waive the need to read the enclosed resolution, but we're asking that the board approve Mrs. Witt and Mrs. Meeks to be our director and alternate for Maisel.
So that everyone understands, when they switched positions, it was Mr. Larson Schuyler and Dave Kallmeyer were in those positions before. And so whoever's in that business office are the ones who are the representatives for that. So this is just a matter of protocol. At this time, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cox.
Support.
Support by Mrs. Madison. Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Madell?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Buckaloo?
Yes.
Ms. Hines, yes. Ms. Walker?
Yes.
Let the record show 6-0.
Thank you, motion carries. Item B, recommendations to award construction manager services, page 25. Are you handling that, Ms. Witt, or?
I can.
Okay.
Okay.
Based upon the results of a public bid opening September 6th, 2018, and the recommendation of the Construction Manager Selection Committee, I'm requesting that the board approval to enter into contract negotiations for construction management services with McCarthy and Smith. The total amount of the contract will not exceed 1.9% of the cost of the construction. The cost of this service will be funded through the bond fund.
Thank you. At this time, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cox, supported by Mrs. Hines. Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Hines, yes. Ms. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Madell?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Buckaloo?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
The record shows 6-0.
Thank you, motion carries. Moving on to item number 205.18, superintendent evaluation. The board is required by law to evaluate the superintendent on a yearly basis. This evaluation includes the following components: governance and board relations, community relations, staff relations, business and finance, and instructional leadership. Dr. Holt received a total of 99% rating on her rating her as highly effective and entitles her to the benefits of this rating. The total score was comprised of scores in the following areas: governance and board relations, 3.9 points, community relations, 4 points, staff relations, 3.9 points, business and finance, 4 points, and instructional leadership, 3.8 points. In section G, other required components of her evaluation, Dr. Holt received a score of 100% rating her as highly effective. The scores for this section of the evaluation were comprised of the following scores: student growth, 4 points, progress towards district-wide goals, 4 points. At this time, I need a motion to accept the superintendent summary evaluation as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Madell, supported by Ms. Hines. Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Buckaloo?
Yes.
Ms. Hines, yes. Ms. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Madell?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
The record shows 6-0.
Thank you. Motion carries. Congratulations, Dr. Holt.
Thank you, ma'am.
Moving on to item number 206.18, the Michigan Association of School Boards Board of Directors. So what this is you all currently know that I serve as on the Board of Directors for MASB. I got into a partial term, which ends in March. So I have to get renominated so I can serve and run for the full term. I cover Group 6, which are schools who have students over the 10,000 mark. And so at this time, I would need to have a motion, if you desire me to represent Wayne Westland again.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Buckaloo, supported by Mr. Cox.
Barely. Mrs. Madison.
Oh, Mrs. Madison, I'm sorry. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Hines, yes. Ms. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Madell?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Buckaloo?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
The record shows 6-0.
Thank you. Motion carries. So what we'll need to do is we just need to have minutes from this meeting forwarded to MASB. And what goes on now, if no one else in Group 6 runs, then probably their board, I'll get it by acclamation. But if someone else in this group decides to run, then we'll have to have a formal election. But thank you for your support. I'm sorry, my vision is going. The older I get, the worse it gets. Moving on to item number 207.18, board officer interests. So in December, board officer transition process. In December, prior to the January organizational meeting, the board secretary has to poll each board member to see if they're interested in any leadership role going into January. We don't vote, it's just a matter of showing interest. So what Ms. Hines would do is she'll ask each board member what if they are interested in any position, meaning when I say position, president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. And then that's all. We don't have to vote on or anything. We just have to have interest, and it's just a part of our board operating procedures. And then next January, the actual vote will take place and we'll change seats. Before we move forward, I have had contact with Dr. Weaver, and Dr. Weaver is not interested in any positions. I also had contact with Mr. Mark Neal, who will be our new board member in January, and he has no interest in a position. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Mr. Cox?
Presidency of the board.
Mr. Buckaloo?
I would be interested in being either vice president or treasurer.
And Ms. Hines, I'm interested in vice president. Ms. Madell?
I said what?
What do you want to do?
Vice president?
Vice President, okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was still writing Hines. I will serve in any capacity that my fellow trustees wish to put me in, except president and vice president.
And Ms. Walker?
If it is the board's, if it's the board's will, I'm willing to serve as your president again, or whatever capacity that you would like to see me in. And we're gonna miss you. I don't want you to feel left out.
No worries.
Okay, so that covers everyone. All right, moving on to 208.18 Head Start Monthly Report. Mrs. Madell.
Okay, as required by federal law, all board trustees have received a copy of October's monthly report that's at your place tonight. We'll need a motion to accept this report going forward.
So moved.
Support.
So at this time, we have a motion from Ms. Hines, and we have a support from Ms. Madison, correct? Okay, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Buckaloo?
Yes.
Ms. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Madell?
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
Yes.
The record shows 6-0.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 209.18, Superintendent Report. Dr. Holt.
Thank you, Madam President. I do want to thank our students who came and did the pledge. That was so amazing this morning, as well as Community Financial for the student-led credit unions. That is such a huge piece of financial literacy for our kids, and it's an area of growth for all of our students throughout this area. If we are going to be an economic powerhouse, we need to have our kids understanding how the role of money and how it operates. So thank you for that. I also want to acknowledge and thank Mrs. Dickelman for your presentation. A couple things I just wanted to note. This is something that was started by the Brown family about 20 years ago. Hardy Brown is actually a county board member in San Bernardino County. So this is, everyone you saw there pretty much was educators. This started out as a trip for social studies teachers to build empathy through understanding. And when the middle passage is a paragraph in a book versus an experience that it takes a whole different turn when you actually experience it. And so with Mrs. Dickelman and Mrs. Curry's leadership, I'm very excited now that Wayne Westland is now an actual stop on the tour. So our CTE department and our district, because of the historical references here, is now a stop on the tour after they go to Greenfield Village for Henry Ford. So that's an amazing accomplishment for us. I also want to announce that we are starting our secondary redesign as part of the bond, so we really do want as many of our staff, community, and faculty on that team. It's really going to be an amazing adventure to really redesign our secondary programming and where it's going to go. I also want to thank our ECGR team for hosting the interest-based bargaining training for all of our bargaining units. We had all of our bargaining units in the room. And it was something that was facilitated for us, and it was amazing to have everyone there. So even though Mrs. Simmons is not here, I do want to acknowledge her leadership for that and moving us forward. And I do want to say that most recently, and I'm very happy that it did happen, that we were able to return people to their rightful positions. But I have to say this in light of everything that's happened in the last few months, that the safety of our children is a non-negotiable. I'll say it again. The safety of our children is a non-negotiable. And whenever there is an investigation by the police department, we are going to wait until the complete investigation is done. Regardless if it's popular, regardless if it's what people like, I am going to wait for the police department or the Wayne County prosecutor to clear anyone. And so I'm happy to announce that last Friday, about 11 o'clock, I received the official notification. So I was very glad to see that. But it was very difficult for our community to understand and accept that I am not going to put the safety of our children or our district at risk, ever. With that, I will say Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy Hanukkah, Feliz Navidad. Happy Kwanzaa, happy holidays. We deserve a little bit of rest. I think we've earned it as an entire team. And so for everyone in our community, I say thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank this board for your support. I know this last year has not been easy, and you have weathered this storm like true champions. And at the end of the day, we are a team, and I thank each and every one of you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Dr. Holt. Moving on to item number 210.18, citizen comments, non-agenda items. Hi, Tanya.
Sorry, it's always hard when I have to read and talk because I can't look at faces and have my glasses, so I'm always going up and down. So first of all,
Also wanted to thank the district.
I'm sorry, can you say your name for the
Oh,
listening
sorry.
office and then those who don't know who you
Thank
are?
you. Thank you. Hi, good evening. I'm Tanya Karpinski. I'm the UNISERV director that represents all the MEA unions within Wayne Westland Community School District. So first, I would also like to second what Dr. Holt stated. It was a good 2 days of training for the interest-based strategy process for negotiations. A lot of the groups are looking forward to that and to the upcoming negotiations, and hopefully that will be a tool that we will be able to see implemented. So sort of in line with that and in going with the theme of transparency and communication, my phone blew up this weekend starting at about 3:30 on Friday afternoon and has continued up until the time I was here this evening in regards to the topic of summer school. So I wanted to make sure I addressed this with the board tonight to share some of the questions and comments as the union leadership liaison delegate, I will say, for the labor relations between the district, some of the concerns that have come up in hopes that we can receive more information and more details on this topic. So first, I'm not sure all of the board is aware, but in the EA contract under Article 24 is where we refer to the curriculum committee. So any changes in program, additions, deletions, no longer having the program. There's a whole step-by-step process for that. Also in the EA contract under Article 26, it relates to the extended school year. So I don't think I have to state to anybody the importance of extended learning opportunities. I think you can pull up Google any data research item and you will see that especially for low and socioeconomic students, the achievement gap greatly lengthens when there are not summer opportunities because the support for instruction relies solely on parental involvement, and with a lot of those other things that parents of socioeconomic students are facing, the ability to continue to educate during the summer is not there. Some of the other questions that have come up are in regards to the process for credit recovery for our secondary students, what that process will be. Are they going to have to pay? Are they going to have to enroll in other districts? Counselors aren't aware of what that process is looking like and how students are going to continue to get that credit recovery if they failed in classes. And then lastly, for a district-wide goal of attraction and retention of staff, by eliminating this opportunity, not only do we feel the students would be losing out, but we have numerous staff, from transportation to food service employees to secretaries to teachers, that would no longer have this opportunity for additional income, which means they are also going to have to look elsewhere for employment, and we are concerned about the loss and the retention of staff, as well as the student achievement and learning. So we would just really hope, in regards to the email that was presented to all building administrators in Wayne Westland, that stated after careful consideration, summer school would not be offered in the Wayne Westland Community School District for 2019. That hit all of the union leadership by surprise, because I'm pretty sure that's why my phone has been going off and email with questions, but also I think there needs to be some further consideration on what that was, what that decision was based on, and in light of the bond that was just passed in the district. So we respectfully ask that you give that some more consideration and that we can have some more feedback on it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Going once? Twice? Okay. Moving on to item number 211.18, review and recommendations, Board of Education. Mrs. Madison, this is your last meeting, so we're going to start with you.
I've had the privilege of serving on this board for the past 6 years. And with that privilege, I've taken great honor in being able to serve our students, our staff, and our community. It's been a tremendous growth experience and very many priceless opportunities. And I thank everyone for the opportunity that has been given to me. And I will definitely be finding other facets within our community to volunteer and serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Madison. Mr. Buckaloo.
Thank you. Ms. Madison, I wish you the best. I'd like to thank Mr. Bessick for bringing Alicia and Ethan to us tonight. We never can get our meeting started without someone leading us in the pledge, and the kids do such a wonderful job of that, and so I appreciate that. I'd like to congratulate some students, too. This past couple of weeks, we've had academic varsity letters awarded to students at John Glenn and at Wayne Memorial for high achievement in academics, and I think that's a fitting thing we've been doing for some 24 years now.
We're in the 30s now.
30s now.
Like
I can
35
remember when
years.
we didn't do it. Also, we inducted some students into the John Glenn National Honor Society this past week, and I think that was, well, that was a nice ceremony, and I enjoyed every bit of that, along with, I'm sure, Mrs. Mattel. Everyone knows at this point that we do an annual evaluation of our superintendent, and you know that she scored very, very well on this. And that's because that she did a lot of things that were very good for us, not the least of which was achieving one of her goals, which was the passage of the bond issue. And for that, we're most thankful. It brings with it additional challenges for the upcoming year. We now have to take a look at how we're going to coordinate the various projects that are going on in each of our buildings, and how it's going to be impacted by the way we readdress the way we deliver education. We have negotiations with all of our unions coming up this year, and we need to address not only a fair contract for them, but in our own self-interest, we need to address the issue of retention. And so those are going to be interesting negotiations, and hopefully we can achieve fairness for everybody and retention for us. So there are some challenges ahead, and Dr. Holt, you do have your work cut out for you, and hopefully you'll have the support of the 7 members on this board. I know that I'm behind you 100%. Lastly, I'd like to wish everyone a safe and a happy holiday season. It's just around the corner, and I've been very nice. I'm expecting something really special in my stocking. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buckaloo. Mr. Cox.
Thank you, Madam President. And Mr. Buckley, you may have forgotten a few things I'll have to remind you about before Christmas Day. I'd also like to thank my colleague Sally Madison for her service. It's been a pleasure to serve with you and to receive phone calls from you till all hours of the night, and to be able to place phone calls to you at all hours of the night. And I know that every time there was an issue to be deliberated, you took it very seriously on behalf of the kids. And I was always so impressed with that, and frankly, I'll miss you, and I'm glad that you're going to stay involved. Because it's the last meeting of the year, the end of the year, I want to thank our president for exceptional leadership, frankly, this past year. This has been a very busy year. It's also been a very emotional year. There have been many changes in our school district, and it isn't easy to be the leader under those circumstances, and you did it with professionalism, and I think everybody was able to be heard, and you were open to that. And in several situations, I think maybe other people wouldn't have done as good a job, so I'm very grateful for that. As Mr. Buckaloo said, we had a successful bond passage, and honestly, I haven't thought about very much else since that happened, wondering where we would have been had it not occurred like that. But it did, and because it did, we have an opportunity in the Wayne Westland School District that hasn't existed here since the year after I graduated from high school.
Yep.
I'm thinking back to the 17 years of Dr. Gregory Barisi's tenure as superintendent of our school district. Every single morning he woke up for work, he had to worry about where the money was going to come from to implement what he wanted to implement in the school district. It was never about planning and trying to take us to the next step. It was always about trying to survive. And that changes with this millage. Not only does that change with this millage, but we have a superintendent who isn't just capable, but who is courageous. Because many of the things that she did over the last 12 months did not enjoy support from very strong voices in the community, yet she stayed the course. She knew she was right, and it took a lot of courage to do. You're very impressive, Madam Superintendent, and I'm very glad that we have you here, and I support you 100%. And I want everybody in this community to know it. That doesn't mean that you're always going to do the right thing or that you're never going to make a mistake. We're a school district. We're about learning here. We're going to make mistakes, but we're going to make honest mistakes because we're working hard trying to affect a positive change. So grateful to have you here, and congratulations on your excellent report card. I'd also like to introduce, we have some visitors from out of town, in fact, from Bucaramanga, Colombia.
Bucaramanga, de veras que sí.
Simone and Patricia Pinzon.
Yeah, I can tell.
They also hold the distinction of being the only people in the Wayne Westland School District who want to see snow.
Oh, I'm with them. I'm right there with you. Estoy con ustedes para ver el nieve. Le quiero que ver también. Para todo, de verdad que sí. De verdad que sí. Okay.
Google Translate.
Am I going to eat? Merry Christmas, and to all my neighbors in the Wayne Westland School District. We're going to have some exciting things for you. For a change. We're so happy about that. So, Merry Christmas, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Ms. Hines.
Yes, I'd like to thank Alicia and Ethan for the Pledge of Allegiance today. And Sally, thank you for being on the board, serving as a member. I wish you great things. And I definitely love that the fact that you want to help, with the kids in the community, so thank you so much for that. Karen, you did a great job with your presentation. With the Footsteps of Freedom, that was a truly inspirational event, and I would definitely love for more people to come and experience, because that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I like to say I'm definitely excited the bond passed. We're going to have a great year. We're rebuilding. It's just like the Phoenix and the Flames. We're coming up. We're going to be brand new. We're going to be the best district around. Everybody's going to be wanting to bring their kids to Wayne Westland. So thank you, everybody who participated, and thank you for just new beginnings. I'd like to also thank the unions and working together with the, what Tanya said earlier today with, what was it called again, with the interest-based bargaining. So I definitely like to see that everybody working together for one goal. Dr. Holt, congratulations on your doing a great job with the district. Really glad to see that things are going well, and I'm really also so excited about Community Financial helping us out with our kids. This is going to be a super program. And one thing that was brought up that I am very concerned about is the summer school, because as a parent, I definitely understand it's important sometimes to have those kids going to school year round, because one year I had my son go just, for the heck of it, to summer school just as extra, and he had all A's that whole year. So it's something that is very important. And even I noticed from Wayne Memorial, the kids that went to Franklin, they had a program. I don't know if it's the Wayne program that they had for the summer school, but they didn't have anything for John Glenn. So it does make a little bit of a difference, and we definitely want to give our kids all the opportunities that we can give. And hopefully, like I said, with this bond, we can increase our curriculum, because my son is in civics. In his book, the last president was George Bush. So we need to definitely really upgrade our curriculum when it comes to history. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. Mrs. Madell, was it the first Bush or
First,
the second
that's
Bush?
what I was going to say. First Bush and second Bush.
That's all right.
Whole
My
nother
history book
conversation.
ended with the Second World War.
And we were in
I'm
the
working
middle
with
of
what I got right now.
we were in the middle of Vietnam, and the textbooks ended up with Second World War. Yeah. The problem with history books is the second you print them, they're out of date. So, sitting here looking at the board book here, seeing all the donations that have come into the FRC reminds me again, at this time of the year, the need is so great. We have a lot of community organizations that are out there collecting. We did a Stuff the Bus with our bus drivers again, which I understand was a pretty good event and good success. So it's one of those things that our bus drivers do look forward to every single year, being out there, and they don't mind it if it's cold. They're there to collect toys and clothing and games and that for the kids. FRC is always in need of donations, and you can see from here what kinds of things that they are looking for. You can also call them, and they will be glad to tell you what it is that they are in need of at that time. I know Mimo's just also put out a thing too on Facebook of what they're in need of, since they are the ones who provide clothing to some of our students too. And again, this is all free. Free. I love the word free. And we need to support our kids the best we can, not only educationally, but also with socially. And this falls under social. So please keep our programs in mind if you're looking to help out with donations. I also received contact about summer school, and this is something that we're gonna have to take a hard look at, where the ball got dropped in communication or whatever, but it needs to be handled quickly so that everybody's on the same page, and understanding has been struck with everybody so they understand what's happening going forward, and that includes the board too, so that, you know, when we get those phone calls or text messages or emails, we know exactly what's going on. I have to say, we have a lot of great employees in this school district. We have a lot of great board trustees also, but we have a lot of great employees. I went to Stockmeyer for their play, and getting out of the car at this hour during this time of the season, it's dark out there, and the lights weren't working. So I thought, okay, sat down, emailed Tony. Now, Tony Spizak is in charge of buildings and grounds, and I didn't expect him to read his emails at home, probably sitting in his comfy chair in a nice warm house, but he did, and he contacted somebody, so that by the time I got out of the play, the lights were on in the parking lot. I couldn't believe it. So, you know, some of our employees don't work, you know, from 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. Some of them work 24 hours a day. So we need to be very grateful for all the things that our employees do, whether they're in a classroom or they drive a bus or they do buildings and grounds or they're a superintendent. They all work really hard to make this school district better. We've got some concerts coming up. Tomorrow night, we've got a band and orchestra concert, and also Thursday night, and they're both going to be at Stockmeyer. Each one of the high schools will be performing, and it's free. Family fun for everyone. So I do want to thank Dr. Holt for your leadership. When we interviewed you, we knew we needed change, and we needed it soon because of what the state was looking to have us do, and that we were falling a little bit behind what their expectations for a school district were. And we knew that the path we were on was going to get us the same results, so we were looking for that change, and you brought that change to us. It was change that was needed, not just change for change's sake. And I know each day has been kind of like pushing a rock up a hill, but you've done a great job doing it. And I know that there are detractors. There will always be detractors. 25% of the people don't like you no matter what you do. So, you know, sometimes the squeaky wheel gets a little noisy, but you've handled it all with grace. So, moving forward, because, you know, somebody also said you're only good as what you did yesterday.
Yep.
So, you know, going forward to tomorrow, we'll make sure that we are there to help support you in what you need to do to make our school district better for our students. Mrs. Madison, we've known each other for a long time, and I know that you have something planned for yourself that will always be interesting, because you always do interesting stuff. So I wish you a lot of luck going forward.
Thank you.
And now that your kids are grown and gone, you've got more time, well, a little bit more time to yourself, but make it the best you can, because it's worth the ride.
Thank you.
I want everybody to come back to us safely, have a great holiday, have a great vacation. Dr. Holt named all of them that are going on. I know we just finished with Hanukkah, but a lot of vacations planned. Just be safe and come back to us well rested. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Madell. Mrs. Madison, I just want to say thank you for your service. It was a pleasure. I know that we might not have always got along, but I know that your heart was always in the right place when it come to representing our community and our children, and I thank you for that, and I wish you well in all your future endeavors. I also want to thank each and every one of you for coming out and taking time out of your day to come and sit and be with us. I want to thank my fellow colleagues on the board for allowing me to serve as your president this year. It is definitely an honor and a privilege to sit in this seat, and I don't take it lightly. I know that I might not always agree with everyone, but one thing I promise you is that I always will be honest with you, and I always will have this district's interest at my heart in the decisions that I have made. And so with that being said, I just want to say thank you, have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and I look forward to next month and seeing each and every one of you back here again. At this time, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mrs. Madison, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.